Hello everyone, you are welcome to today's episode where we are going to talk about building up or putting up a nursery house. So in this episode, I just want to share my experience and what I went through when I tried to construct a nursery house. Putting up a nursery house is very simple, but you just have to know exactly what you are doing. Well, the purpose of a nursery house is to make sure that you have a good thriving plant. The nursery house is where the magic happens, and it's where seeds are transformed into thriving plants. It's literally a heaven and a place for them to do well once you transfer them onto the open field. Now, what you need to get your wood. If you don't want to buy wood, you can also replace it by getting some bamboos. But the thing with bamboo is that it's not able to last longer. Sometimes the termites and the insects are able to bite in and eat it up. Hence, your nursery house, you can be able to use it for a short-term period, but if you want to build it for a long term where you are able to keep a lot of stuff in, then it is advisable that you get yourself a wood. So I got myself some 2x2, some 2x3, and some 2x6. And also I also got myself wooden buttons. Then you have to get yourself the nails depending on the type of wood that you are using. So you need to get yourself some 2-inch nails, some 3 inches nails, and 1.5 inch nail. Also, I got myself an insecticide net, and the purpose of the insecticide net is to be able to prevent insects from crawling into the nursery house. Then you also need a polyethylene cover or a solar rig, something that will be able to imitate the temperature that is outside to the same as the temperature that is inside, because you don't want them to have sort of a shock. When they are inside, the temperature that will be inside the nursery house is exactly the same that will be outside the nursery house. So what happened with this nursery house is that when I finished constructing it, I took a video as is being shown now. I was so excited of what I've done because I did this one myself. I didn't get the help of any carpenter or anyone to guide me. I went on YouTube and I saw what a couple of other people have done. And this table that is being shown, it looks alright, but I should have added more wood in the middle to serve as the table and also the net. So whatever way that you want to do, just make sure that it is safe and strong. Now what happened was, because I spaced them out and the space in between, I'm talking about the roof, was not so close in terms of the wood, I was not able to straighten it up properly. So what will happen is when it rains, you will see that because the wood was not close enough, the water will gather on top of the roof. And when water doesn't have an exit, you know what will happen. Whenever you block the exit of water, the water will begin to cover in, then they will end up caving in, or the structure will break. Another thing I noticed was that I should have dug the poles very deep into the ground. So I should have dug for about 2.5 foot so that I know that this is a very strong post that I've put in. You don't necessarily have to put in a cement mixture or a mortar mixture or a concrete mixture. Once you have dug deep enough and you fill it with some stones and normal sand, they should be able to hold up. So this is the mistake that I went through, and you can see on your screen that after a heavy downpour of rain, this structure could not stand. This structure was broken down. And I was running late because I needed to do a couple of things on the farm as well. So I decided to get this carpenter to come on. So this carpenter came to come and help me whilst we were doing work on the field as well. As you can see, it's raining, and we decided to move the nursery house close to the poly tank this time around. So they were digging in whilst it was still raining. And unfortunately, for some reason, their structure looked very strong, but yet still we had rains again about 2 or 3 days later. And still, the nursery house that they did and they built for me, which you can see, was still broken. I just couldn't wrap my mind around the reason why, because he had assured me that this one was going to stand. And one thing we did was that I just moved all the materials that we used from the other side to this particular spot. So I didn't need to buy a new one. But after this one again was also broken, my solar rig or the roof, the polyethylene cover was just there. We had a couple of holes inside and it was just not appropriate to just glue it together. For the net, it was able to survive. So this is what happened. As you can see on your screen, the nursery had caved in at this time around, even with the help of a carpenter. And I noticed that it was still much to do with the roof. There wasn't a proper place for the water to go. So if you want to do your nursery house, I just searched online and I was even asking ChatGPT. You get to understand that doing the roof in the form of a gable or in an arc shape was the best option, like the way they set up the greenhouses. When it is in an arc shape or a gable shape, when there's a strong wind or there's strong winds, when all the water comes on the roof, they all fall down. Now, fortunately enough, we had not nursed our seedlings. So imagine all this would have happened in the space of 1 week. All our seedlings could have been destroyed. So when it happened this way, I said there's no point to give up. That's one thing about farming. You learn as you are going along, but just make sure that you learn and do the right thing so that you don't have to repeat the mistakes that others have made. So I called the carpenter back and I said, listen, what you've done, this is what has happened now, because he had finished the work and he had gone, and just literally 3 days later, this had broken down. And what is over there is our on-site restroom that we constructed, which is the biodigester over there at the bottom, just to be able to release ourselves or relieve ourselves when we are on the farm working. So I called the carpenter and I told the carpenter that what we have to do now is that I want us to make the nursery house in the roof in a gable shape. So a gable shape is more like a V that has been turned upside down. So once we do it this shape, in that shape, even if it rains, it is not going to have that effect. And after doing that, you can see that we've had a couple more rains that has happened because we're in the late period of having the minor rains. This is in Ghana. So the minor rainy season, we have a lot of rains that comes. Then once we enter into November, December, we begin to cross into the dry season. And you can see that the ground is very wet to the point that even the beds that we have here, I had to create a natural path for the rain. So you can see that our drip lines, part of it is hanging. And this is when it rains, some of the water, this is where it passes. We've made some gutters at the beginning of at the top of this farm, so where we've been able to divert a majority of the water when it's coming to another place, so that all this water will not find its way here. But even if some of them are able to find its way down here, like what you are seeing on your screen, you can see that the water just passes through naturally and then it goes to another side. Hence, all our plastic mulch and whatever that we are done will stay in shape, except a few that might be washed off if there is so much water. Other than that, everything and all the beds that we have done will stay in shape. Anyway, so going back to the nursery house, as I was talking about, our nursery house was finished by the carpenter. I'll put a video over here, just a couple of seconds, and let me just put this here. So that is how it was looking after the nursery house was constructed for the second time. And the drone view will be able to help us see how it was looking on the top. And that is our farm over there. We just work with this one for now, then hope to expand. On each side, we've currently sown some maize. So instead of leaving the land to be bare over there, and all the side that's is in the green area, we are going to clear all that places. That is how the nursery house was constructed. Then this is the gable one I was talking about. This one looks like a normal house. So with this one, it was actually able to hold. So when you are doing your nursery house, I'm just sharing this experience that in case you are considering building up a nursery house, which is very strong and solid, you can consider this one that I've used. If you use it this way or you do it in the arc way, you are not going to have any issue, whether there is wind or a storm or a heavy downpour. neither of them is going to break this down. And we did this without putting any concrete in the foot of the post. What you can also do is that you can also try to treat and pour a treatment liquid at the bottom of the post, just in case in the future. Because at the end of it, whatever that you are doing when it comes to farming, any investment you are making, you are trying your best as much as possible not to spend so much. So this is it, and it was done, and this is how it was looking on your screen. And voila, it's been a couple of weeks now, and it is doing very well. It is standing. So I'll just show a video of us now having, after finishing, we were able to put in our seat into the nursery house, and it's looking much better now. And you can see that even with the table, I still went ahead to use wood because I used most of it on the table. Now it looks much more better and much more straight than what was in the first video, because in the first video it was quite uneven. But this one we put in a couple of more bamboos, because there's so much bamboo that was around our farm. So all we had to do was just to go in, cut some of the bamboos, then come and split them into two and use it to serve as a table. And that is what we have spread all our nursery or our seed trays on, which I'll talk about the seed trays as well, and talk about the seedlings in another video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next in the next episode.